I watched Professor David Hartwell's hands shake as he held the microphone. His face had gone gray, the color of concrete, the color of death. 500 scientists stared at him, waiting. The projector showed his data, his breakthrough, his legacy. Except none of it was real. I sat in the back row of the conference hall. My hair was different now, shorter, darker. I wore glasses I didn't need. Nobody recognized me. Nobody remembered Dr. Mei Chen, the woman he destroyed 2 years ago. Hartwell cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now demonstrate the live replication of our findings. His voice cracked on the word findings. I leaned forward. This was it. His research assistant brought out the samples, the ones I'd switched 3 weeks ago. My heart pounded against my ribs. 7 years of my life had led to this moment. 7 years he stole. The room went silent. Hartwell loaded the first sample into the mass spectrometer. His hands trembled so badly he almost dropped it. I knew what would happen next. I'd calculated it, tested it, verified it. The results appeared on the giant screen, complete opposite of his published data. Someone gasped, then another. Whispers erupted like wildfire. Hartwell stared at the screen. His mouth opened, closed. No words came out. Dr. Rebecca Cross jumped up from the front row. Her face had gone white. There must be a contamination, she said, her voice pitched too high. We need to run it again, someone shouted from the audience. But I already knew. They all knew. This was fraud. But let me back up. Let me tell you how a broken PhD student became the woman who destroyed an entire department. How I turned my pain into the most elegant experiment of my career. This is the story of how I proved that revenge isn't about justice. It's about data. 7 years earlier, I walked into Stanford University with stars in my eyes. 23 years old, fresh master's degree from Berkeley, full scholarship for my PhD in molecular biology. My focus was cancer genetics. Specifically, how certain proteins could suppress tumor growth. Revolutionary stuff. The kind of research that could save millions of lives. Professor David Hartwell ran the cancer research lab. He was a legend, published in Nature, Science, Cell. 30 years at Stanford, awards covering every wall of his office. You remind me of myself at your age, he told me during my interview. He smiled, warm, fatherly, hungry, brilliant. Ready to change the world. I wanted to impress him so badly. I worked 18-hour days, lived in a lab. My apartment was just a place to shower and sleep 4 hours a night. I ran experiments, analyzed data, refined protocols. By year 3, I'd made a breakthrough. A specific protein marker that predicted cancer resistance with 94% accuracy. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. Hartwell was ecstatic. This is Nobel-level work, May, he said. He put his hand on my shoulder. We're going to publish this together. You'll be first author. This will make your career. I believed him. I noticed Dr. Rebecca Cross hanging around the lab more often. She was from the biochemistry department. 40s, divorced. Always wore too much perfume. She and Hartwell would have long meetings, door closed. I thought they were collaborating on research. I was so stupid. Year 5, I had enough data for my dissertation. Everything was ready. My defense was scheduled for May 15th. I'd already accepted a postdoc position at MIT. Hartwell seemed nervous those last few weeks. Distracted. He kept asking me for copies of my raw data. Just for backup, he said. We don't want to lose anything. I gave him everything, every spreadsheet, every image, every analysis. He was my mentor. Why wouldn't I trust him? 2 weeks before my defense, I got an email. A colleague from Harvard. Subject line, "Did you see this?" Link to Nature, published that morning. I clicked it. My stomach dropped through the floor. The paper was titled, Novel Protein Marker for Cancer Resistance Prediction. Authors, David Hartwell and Rebecca Cross. My data. My experiments. My 7 years of work. Under their names. I read the paper 3 times. Every graph was mine. Every table. Every conclusion. They changed maybe 10% of the wording. That was it. My hands shook so hard I couldn't hold my phone. I called Hartwell, straight to voicemail. I called again and again. Finally, he answered. May. His voice was cold, professional. Nothing like before. I was about to call you. That's my research. I said. My voice came out strangled. That's my dissertation. Actually, he said, it's the university's research, and as principal investigator, I have the right to publish it as I see fit. You can't. I can. And I did. He paused. You're welcome to file a complaint with the department, but I should warn you, Dr. Cross and I have already submitted documentation showing your work was derivative of our earlier research. We have emails, meeting notes, everything. My brain couldn't process it. That's not true. It is now. He said, I suggest you withdraw your defense petition. Save yourself the embarrassment. He hung up. I sat in my apartment for 3 hours. Couldn't move. Couldn't think. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be happening. I filed a complaint with the department the next morning. Formal academic misconduct charges against Hartwell and Cross. The department head listened, took notes, promised to investigate. 2 days later, I got called into his office. Dr. Morrison, 60 years old, Hartwell's friend for 2 decades. Miss Chen, he said. Not doctor, not May, Miss. We've reviewed her claims. Unfortunately, the evidence doesn't support your allegations. He slid a folder across his desk. Inside were emails I'd never written, meeting notes from discussions I'd never had, lab reports with my signature forged at the bottom. Professor Hartwell has been documenting your collaboration for years, Morrison said. It's clear that while you contributed to the research, the conceptual framework was his, the methodology was Dr. Cross's, your role was supportive. That's bullshit, I said. My voice shook. Those documents are fake. Morrison's face hardened. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? I didn't. How could I? Hartwell had planned this for months, maybe years. Furthermore, Morrison continued, several students have come forward with concerns about your behavior. Aggressive. Possessive of research that wasn't yours. Difficulty collaborating. Who said that? He wouldn't tell me. I found out later. 3 of Hartwell's other students all promised co-authorship on his next paper if they cooperated. My defense was canceled. Until this matter is resolved, Morrison said. I hired a lawyer. She cost $5,000 I didn't have. She reviewed everything, shook her head. Without evidence of forgery, this is your word against 2 established professors, she said. Academic misconduct cases are nearly impossible to prove, especially against someone with Hartwell's reputation. So he just wins. He already won, she said. I'm sorry. I tried going to the university president, got stonewalled. Tried the academic integrity board, same result. Hartwell had allies everywhere. The final blow came 3 weeks later. Email from Immigration Services. My student visa was tied to my PhD program. No PhD, no visa. I had 60 days to leave the country. I was born in Shanghai, moved to California when I was 12. America was my home. I had no family in China, no connections, nothing. Everything I'd built, 7 years of my life, gone. I packed my apartment in a daze. My friends stopped calling. Nobody wanted to associate with the student who'd accused a legendary professor of fraud. The day before my flight, I went to the lab one last time. Needed to collect my personal items, books, my coffee mug, photos. Hartwell was there. He looked up when I walked in. No guilt on his face, just mild annoyance. May, he said, I'm sorry it came to this. Something inside me snapped. You're sorry. You're talented, he said, but you lack the political instincts necessary for academic success. Research isn't just about science. It's about relationships, strategy. You stole from me, he shrugged. I utilized available resources. That's what successful researchers do. Rebecca Cross walked in then, saw me, smiled. Actually smiled. Oh, May, she said, still here? I thought you'd left already. She put her hand on Hartwell's arm, possessive, intimate. That's when I understood. This wasn't just about research. This was about power, about showing me how insignificant I was. I hope you land on your feet, Hartwell said. Maybe teaching high school biology? You'd be good at that. Cross laughed. Actually laughed. I walked out, hands clenched so tight my nails drew blood from my palms. I didn't cry. Not then. Not on the plane to Shanghai. Not during those first horrible months in a country that didn't feel like home. I just planned. Shanghai felt like a tomb. I knew the language, knew the food, but everything felt foreign. I lived in a tiny apartment in Pudong, worked as a lab technician at a pharmaceutical company, made a quarter of what I should have, did work that high school students could do. Every morning I woke up angry. Every night I went to bed furious. I watched Hartwell and Cross from across the ocean. Social media made it easy. Their lab website, conference presentations. They were riding my research to glory. Hartwell got promoted to department chair. Cross got tenure. They published 3 more papers using my methodologies. Nobody questioned them. Why would they? They were established, respected, trusted. 6 months after I left, Hartwell gave a TED Talk about cancer research. 3 million views. He told a story about his breakthrough, his dedication, his vision, my work, my words. I watched it 12 times. Each viewing made me sicker. I started having panic attacks, couldn't sleep, lost 20 pounds. My hands shook constantly. My mother called from San Francisco. Come home, she said. We'll figure something out. I can't, I said. I don't have a visa. Then let it go, she said. Start over. They won. It's done. But I couldn't let it go. The anger was eating me alive. I needed help, professional help. I found a therapist, Dr. Wang. She spoke English, specialized in trauma. What do you want? She asked me during our 3rd session. I want him destroyed. I said, I want him to lose everything like I did. Is that realistic? I don't care. I want him to suffer. She was quiet for a long moment. Revenge fantasies are normal, she said, but acting on them usually hurts you more than your target. Then what do I do? You build a new life, a better life. You succeed in spite of him. That's the best revenge. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Success wasn't enough. I didn't want to move on. I didn't want to heal. I wanted justice, real justice, the kind that leaves scars. That's when I made my decision. I would go back, not as a victim, not as a broken student, as a weapon. I started planning that night, really planning, not fantasy, strategy. First, I needed credentials, a PhD from a Chinese university. I enrolled at Fudan University, found a new advisor, someone who didn't know my history. I worked like a machine, finished my PhD in 18 months, record time. My dissertation was on a different topic, protein synthesis, not my stolen research. Second, I needed access to Hartwell's lab. That meant someone on the inside. I found her through LinkedIn, Sarah Kim, 3rd-year PhD student in Hartwell's lab. Her post suggested she was struggling, stressed, overworked. I sent her a message, casual, friendly. Another scientist who'd worked with Hartwell years ago. How was he as an advisor? She responded immediately, desperate to talk. Hartwell was a nightmare, demanding, critical, never satisfied. We became email friends, then video chat friends. I was careful, sympathetic, never mentioned my history. She told me everything. Lab protocols, security systems, Hartwell's schedule, where he kept his samples, his passwords. She trusted me. Why wouldn't she? I was kind, understanding. Everything Hartwell wasn't. Third, I needed money. A lot of money. Plane tickets, equipment, living expenses. I took a second job, then a third. Saved every yuan. Slept 4 hours a night. 14 months after my decision. I had everything. PhD from Fudan. Job offer from UC Berkeley as a research associate. Valid work visa for America. And a complete blueprint for destroying David Hartwell. I boarded the plane to San Francisco. My hands didn't shake anymore. I was calm, focused, ready. This wasn't about anger anymore. This was about precision. I was going to do what I do best, conduct an experiment, test a hypothesis. Hypothesis, if you take everything from someone, what do they become? I was about to find out. I arrived at Berkeley on a Tuesday morning. August, fog rolling off the bay. Everything felt surreal. My official position was research associate in the genetics department, different building from Hartwell, different university, no connection. Perfect cover. I spent the first month establishing my routine. Work, gym, apartment, nothing suspicious. I published 2 papers, attended seminars, made myself visible. Nobody knew who I was. My married name now was Dr. May Anderson. Paperwork showed I'd done my PhD at Fudan. Work history in Shanghai. Clean slate. Sarah Kim was still at Stanford, still miserable under Hartwell. We still talked regularly. I need a favor, I told her in September. We were having coffee in Palo Alto. Casual. Friendly. Anything, she said. I'm doing research on protein markers, similar to Dr. Hartwell's work. Could you show me his lab setup? Just for comparison. She hesitated. I'm not supposed to bring visitors. 10 minutes, I said. After hours. Nobody will know. She agreed. Of course she did. I'd spent 18 months earning her trust. The lab looked exactly as I remembered. Same benches, same equipment, same smell of ethanol and ambition. Sarah showed me everything. Storage protocols, sample locations, security badge system. His office is through there, she said, pointing. But it's locked after 6. That's okay, I said. This is perfect. Thank you. I memorized everything, took mental notes, didn't touch anything, not yet. That night, I reviewed Hartwell's recent publications, 5 papers in the last 18 months, all based on my stolen research, all extending my methodologies. His latest project was the crown jewel, a paper being submitted to Science, clinical trials for a new cancer drug based on my protein marker, potentially worth billions. The paper was in final review, publication scheduled for November. That gave me 6 weeks. I started phase 2, getting access to the lab. Stanford's security system was biometric, fingerprint, and badge. Sarah's badge wouldn't work for me, too risky, but I still had my old student ID deactivated. Supposedly scrubbed from a system. Supposedly. Universities are terrible at database management. I'd learned that during my PhD. Old accounts linger. Old permissions stay active. I needed to test it. I drove to Stanford at 2 in the morning, used the service entrance, held my breath, pressed my old ID against the reader. Click. Green light. Door opened. My biometrics were still in the system. After 2 years, idiots. I walked to Hartwell's lab, heart pounding. If someone saw me, everything was over. The hallway was empty. Security cameras were dummies. Stanford couldn't afford real monitoring for every building. I swiped into the lab. Success. I had 20 minutes before my presence might trigger any automated logs. Plenty of time. Hartwell's current samples were in the cold room, labeled, organized. These were for his science paper, his masterpiece. I found the critical ones. HeLa cell cultures with his modified protein markers. The backbone of his research. I didn't destroy them. That would be obvious. Instead, I did something more elegant. I contaminated them, subtly, with proteins that looked similar under basic screening, but would produce completely different results under mass spectrometry, results that contradicted his paper, results that made his data look falsified. It took 8 minutes. I used my own samples, carefully prepared, pre-tested. Then I left, walked out like I belonged there. Nobody stopped me. Over the next 4 weeks, I returned 3 more times. Each visit, I manipulated different samples, different protocols. Building a web of inconsistencies Hartwell wouldn't notice, not until it was too late. His verification protocols were sloppy, overconfident. I also did something else, something insurance. I accessed his computer. Sarah had mentioned his password once, his daughter's name plus birth year. Obvious, pathetic. I searched his files, emails, documents, looking for evidence of the original theft, and I found it. An email thread with Rebecca Cross from 2 years ago, planning how to steal my research. how to forge the documents, how to silence me. They'd been stupid, arrogant, kept everything. I copied it all, encrypted, backed up in 3 locations. Now I had 2 options: destroy him with falsified data or destroy him with truth. I decided to use both. The International Conference on Cancer Research was scheduled for October in San Francisco. Hartwell was giving the keynote, presenting his latest findings, live demonstration included. The demonstration would use his contaminated samples, would fail spectacularly in front of 500 scientists, and after he was discredited, I'd release the emails. Prove he'd stolen from me originally. Prove everything was built on fraud. Complete destruction, professional, personal, permanent. I sat in my apartment the night before the conference, calm, ready. This wasn't about healing. This wasn't about moving on. This was about justice. My kind of justice. Tomorrow, David Hartwell would lose everything, just like I did. The conference hall at the Moscone Center seated 600. Every seat was full, standing room only in the back. I wore my hair differently, shorter, black dye instead of brown, glasses, professional dress. Nobody recognized me. I was just another researcher, anonymous in the crowd. Hartwell took the stage at 10:30. Rebecca Cross sat front row, beaming, proud. He looked good, confident, expensive suit, graying hair perfectly styled. This was his moment. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, thank you for this honor. Today, I'll present groundbreaking work that will revolutionize cancer treatment. Applause. Lots of it. He smiled, basked in it. He showed slides, graphs, my data, 2 years old now. Still beautiful. Still revolutionary. Our protein marker shows 94% accuracy in predicting treatment resistance, he said. Clinical trials begin next month. We estimate this could save 50,000 lives annually. More applause. Some people stood. I stayed seated. Watched. Now, Hartwell said, I know extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, so we've prepared a live demonstration, real samples, real-time analysis, complete transparency. His research assistant wheeled out the equipment, mass spectrometer, computer, display screen for the audience. This was it. My heart rate stayed steady. I'd trained myself. Meditation, breathing exercises, complete control. Hartwell loaded the first sample. His hands were steady. Why wouldn't they be? He'd run this protocol 1,000 times. The machine hummed, processed. Results appeared on the giant screen behind him, complete opposite of his predicted values. The room went quiet. Confused silence. Hartwell stared at the screen, blinked. That's unexpected. Must be a calibration error. He loaded another sample, different batch. Same protocol, worse results, not even close to his published data. Whispers started, soft at first, then louder. Rebecca Cross stood up. Her face had drained of color. David, we should. Third sample, someone shouted from the audience. Rung the control. Hartwell's hands shook now. He loaded the control. Universal standard. Should produce identical results every time. The results were scrambled. Nonsensical. The whispers turned to murmurs, then voices. Accusations. Those aren't the same samples as your paper, someone called out. The data doesn't match, another person said. Not even close. Dr. Richard Brennan stood up, head of the NIH Cancer Research Division, major funding source. Professor Hartwell, these results suggest significant inconsistencies with your published work. Can you explain? Hartwell opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His face had gone gray, concrete gray. There must be contamination, he finally said. This isn't. Commentation doesn't explain this level of discrepancy, Brennan said. His voice was holed. This suggests falsification. The room erupted, everyone talking at once, cameras flashing, journalists running for the exits. Rebecca Cross tried to reach the stage. Security stopped her. Let me through, I can explain. But there was no explanation, not one that would work. I watched from my seat, calm, satisfied. This was better than I'd imagined. Hartwell stood frozen, microphone still in his hand, watching his career implode in real time. Then I did something I hadn't planned. Impulsive, reckless, necessary. I stood up, raised my voice. Professor Hartwell. The room quieted. Everyone turned, including Hartwell. Our eyes met. For 1 second, he didn't recognize me. Then he did. His face went from gray to white. Dr. Mei Chen, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The student whose research you stole 2 years ago. The one you destroyed. Chaos. Complete chaos. Hartwell backed away from the microphone, shaking his head. No, I have emails, I said, between you and Dr. Cross. Planning the theft, planning the forgery, planning everything. I pulled out my phone, held it up. I can forward them to everyone in this room, right now. Would you like me to? Brennan was already on his phone. Security, nobody leaves. Rebecca Cross tried to run. Actually tried to run. Security grabbed her. She screamed, struggled. Hartwell just stood there, broken, destroyed. Everything he'd built crumbling. Why? He whispered. The microphone caught it. Broadcast it to everyone. You could have moved on, built a new career. I did, I said. I got my PhD from Fudan. I published 6 papers. I got a position at Berkeley. I moved on. I walked toward the stage. People parted. Let me through. This isn't about my career, I said. This is about yours. I wanted to watch you lose everything, just like I did. He collapsed, actually collapsed. Knees buckled, fell to the stage. Paramedics came, took him away. Heart attack, they said later. Mild one. He survived. I stood on that stage, 500 scientists staring at me, some shocked, some horrified, some impressed. I manipulated his samples, I said, confessing to everyone. I made his demonstration fail. But the original theft was real. The emails are real. Everything he's published for 30 years deserves scrutiny. I could have stopped there, let the investigation play out naturally, but I didn't. I wanted them to know. I wanted everyone to know what I'd done, what I was capable of. That was my first mistake. The investigation took 6 months. Stanford, NIH, FDA. Everyone wanted answers. Hartwell's emails proved everything. He'd stolen my research. He and Cross had forged documents. They'd falsified data on multiple papers over the years. 30 years of publications, all questioned, many retracted. His entire legacy erased. He lost his position, his tenure, his pension, faced federal charges for grant fraud, 5 years probation, $50,000 fine. Rebecca Cross fared worse, lost her doctorate, banned from academic research, divorced, bankrupt. Last I heard, she was working retail in Phoenix. Stanford shut down Hartwell's entire lab. I were making some progress of dishonest, unfit sense. 3 graduate students had to start over. 2 postdocs couldn't find new positions. The department lost $50 million in grant funding. 60 jobs gone. Programs canceled. I became famous. The wronged student who brought down a corrupt professor. TED Talks, interviews, documentary crews. Universities invited me to speak about academic integrity, about standing up for yourself, about justice. But here's what I never told them in those talks, the part I kept secret. I already had a job offer from Berkeley before I started my revenge plan. A good job, well paid, respected position. I already had my PhD from Fudan, already published, already successful. The revenge wasn't necessary. I didn't need it for my career. I didn't need it for justice. The emails would have been enough. Could have sent them anonymously. Let the system handle it. But I wanted more. I wanted to see him suffer. Wanted to watch him break. Wanted to feel what destruction felt like. So I contaminated his samples, sabotaged his research, orchestrated his public humiliation. And you know what? It felt good. In the moment, it felt amazing. But after, After the adrenaline faded, after the cameras left, I felt empty, hollow. The anger was gone, but nothing replaced it. I thought revenge would heal me, close the wound, make me whole again. Instead, it just made me someone else. Someone who could destroy people methodically, scientifically. Someone who enjoyed watching others suffer. I scared myself. 3 months after the conference, I met with Dr. Wang, my therapist from Shanghai. She'd moved to San Francisco. Coincidence or fate? How do you feel? She asked. Successful, I said. Vindicated. Famous. That's not what I asked. I was quiet for a long time. Empty, I finally said. I thought this would fix me, but I'm more broken now than before. She nodded. Revenge doesn't heal trauma. It just creates new trauma for everyone involved. Was I wrong? You were human, she said. Hurt, angry, understandable. But yes, you were wrong. I published a paper 6 months later, not about cancer, about ethics in science, about revenge, about the cost of justice when it becomes personal. I titled it The Perfect Specimen, a case study in academic revenge and its consequences. I detailed everything, what I'd done, how I'd planned it, why it didn't work the way I thought. The paper went viral, more famous than any cancer research I could have done. I got messages from students who'd been wronged, who'd been stolen from, who wanted revenge. I told them all the same thing. Don't find another way, because this path changes you, makes you into something you don't want to be. Sometimes they listen, often they don't. I still work at Berkeley, still do research, good research, important research, but I'm known as the revenge girl now, not the scientist. The cautionary tale. Was it worth it? Destroying Hartwell? Watching him lose everything? Honestly, I don't know. Some days I think yes, he deserved it. He was a thief, a fraud. Other days, I think about those 12 researchers who lost their jobs, the students who lost years of work, the programs that closed, collateral damage, acceptable losses. That's what I told myself during my planning. Real lives, real dreams, all destroyed because I wanted revenge. Hartwell lives in Arizona now, small apartment, teaches high school biology. Ironic, considering what he said to me. He sent me an email last year, subject, I'm sorry. I didn't open it, deleted it, then retrieved it from trash, read it, deleted it again. It said, you were right, I was wrong. I destroyed you, you destroyed me. We're even now. I hope you find peace. I haven't responded. Don't know if I will. What would I say? That I'm sorry. I'm not. He deserved what he got. That I forgive him. I don't. Can't. Maybe never will. That I understand him. Actually, maybe I do. Because I became just like him. Someone who uses people, manipulates them, destroys them for personal gain. The only difference is everyone thinks I'm the hero. I'm not. I'm just the one who won. My therapist says healing takes time, that I need to forgive myself, process the trauma, move forward. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Some wounds don't heal. Some damage is permanent. And some revenge, even when successful, leaves you more broken than you started. I'm 32 now. Successful, published, respected, lonely, empty, changed. I got everything I wanted and lost everything that mattered. That's the real conclusion of my experiment. The data nobody wants to see. Revenge doesn't make you whole. It just makes you the villain in someone else's story, even when you were the victim in yours.